October 2nd, 2025, 2:47 a.m., home office in Austin. I was running simulations on the next Gen Starship heat shield, debugging some thermal distribution algorithms that weren't optimizing correctly. You know that state when you're so deep in code that reality kind of blurs. 3 monitors glowing, cold coffee, the house completely silent except for the hum of my workstation's cooling fans. And then something happened that I can't explain with physics or engineering or any rational framework I've built my entire life around. Pause, look, I'm going to tell you something that sounds absolutely insane, but I need you to hear me out because what I'm about to share, it's changed how I think about everything, not just spiritual stuff, everything. The way I approach problems at Tesla, SpaceX, even how I parent my kids. This is about salt. Yes, table salt, and 5 specific places Jesus told me to put it. I know how that sounds. Teachy experai NCE, I need to back up for a second. The week before this happened, I'd been dealing with some, let's call it negative energy around the house. Not in a woo-woo way. I mean tangible stuff. Arguments with the kids that felt disproportionate. Technology malfunctioning in patterns that made no statistical sense. 3 different contractors ghosting on the same day. You ever have those weeks where it feels like you're swimming upstream through mud? My mom actually mentioned it when she visited. She walked in and said, "Something feels heavy here." Now, my mom's from South Africa, and she has this way of knowing things, intuition that I've always respected even if I couldn't measure it. So there I am, 2:47 a.m., staring at thermal failure points, and I hear my name. Not out loud. It's like, imagine someone uploading information directly to your consciousness, bypassing your auditory processing entirely. Pure signal, no noise. Elon. I spin around in my chair. Nothing. But the room feels different. The air has this quality, thicker, charged, like right before lightning strikes. And I know someone's there. Every system in my body is confirming it. My heart rate spikes. The hair on my arm stands up. Fight or flight kicking in hard. Then I see him, Jesus, standing by the bookshelf, not glowing or floating or any of that Renaissance painting stuff. He looked solid, real, wearing what I can only describe as practical clothing, nothing ornate. His eyes, though, they had this depth, like looking into a database of infinite information and infinite compassion simultaneously. I don't scare easily, but I nearly fell out of my chair. "Don't be afraid," he says. And the crazy thing, I immediately wasn't. Like he'd flipped a switch in my nervous system. Override command executed. "You're wondering why things feel blocked?" He continues. "Why the energy in your space feels corrupted? I'm going to show you something ancient that still works. Something so simple you'll want to dismiss it. But simplicity is often the most elegant solution." He walked toward my desk. Walked, not floated, and pointed at my coffee mug. Salt. The preservative. The purifier. The conductor. You use complex solutions for simple problems, Elon. Sometimes the first principles are really first principles. Before silicon, before steel, there was salt. What he told me next, about 5 specific places to put salt in your home, it sounded ridiculous. But he explained the why behind it with a logic that, honestly, it reminded me of debugging code, finding the corruption points in a system and patching them. "Will you try it?" he asked. I heard myself say yes, then he was gone, just not there anymore. But the thermal simulation on my screen, suddenly solved. The algorithm I've been fighting for 6 hours had reorganized itself into perfect optimization. I sat there for 20 minutes, just processing. Then I went to the kitchen and got the salt. Cor eisight y1 t-ernt stm simpu port. Jesus told me, put a small bowl of salt by your main entrance, front door. Not hidden, visible, but not obtrusive. Here's why this works from first principles. Your main entrance is your home's primary IDO port. Everything enters through there. People, energy, information, intention. Think of it like network security for your living space. You wouldn't run servers without a firewall, right? Salt acts as a filter. Historically, across cultures, salt has been used as a purifying agent. Chemically, it's hygroscopic. It absorbs moisture. Spiritually, it absorbs negative charge. Think of it as a capacitor for unwanted energy. When I placed a small ceramic bowl with sea salt by my front door, something shifted within 24 hours. The tension that had been building every time someone entered the house, gone. Visitors started commenting that my place felt lighter, more welcoming. One of my engineers said, "Did you change the lighting in here?" We hadn't changed anything except the salt. From an engineering perspective, you're creating a threshold checkpoint, a buffer zone. Negative patterns, hostile intent, spiritual malware, whatever you want to call it, gets caught at the entry point instead of infiltrating your entire system. Replace the salt every week. When it clumps or darkens, that's not just humidity. It's absorbed energy. It's done its job. Dispose of it. Flush it down the toilet or throw it in running water. Don't reuse it. You wouldn't recycle contaminated filters in a life support system. QRISIGHT2A Tiba Harnars Y stem stabile Y piantes second placement, small amounts of salt in each corner of your bedroom. Not large amounts, maybe a tablespoon each, in small dishes on the floor if you don't mind the aesthetic. Jesus explained this using geometry. 4 corners, he said. Stability. Foundation. Your bedroom is where you're most vulnerable, unconscious, open, defenseless. Protect those corners. This hit me hard, because I'd been having the worst sleep of my life. Waking up at 3 a.m. with anxiety that made no sense. Racing thoughts about problems I'd already solved. I tried everything: blackout curtains, temperature optimization, blue light filters, magnesium supplements. Nothing worked consistently. The corners of a room are where energy accumulates and stagnates, like eddies in fluid dynamics. Dead zones. If you don't address them, you get buildup. Corruption. That's where negative patterns nest and amplify. Salt in the corners creates 4 points of purification. It's like establishing a clean grid, a stable foundation for the space where you spend a third of your life. I put salt in my bedroom corners on October 3rd. That night, first full 8 hours of sleep I'd had in 2 months. No 3 a.m. wake-ups, no anxiety. My Whoop band every scores I hadn't seen since my 20s. Coincidence? I'm an engineer. I test things. I removed the salt after a week to see what would happen. Within 3 days, the sleep disruption came back. Put the salt back. Problems resolved again. That's not anecdotal, that's reproducible results. Core EISIGHT.3TKTHEN for UL so URCE Puroditien. 3rd placement. Salt near where you prepare food. Jesus was specific. Where nourishment is created, keep it pure. Your kitchen is your biological fuel production center. If the energy there is compromised, you're literally consuming corrupted input. Garbage in, garbage out. That's not just coding, that's biochemistry. I put a small bowl of salt on the counter, where we do most of our meal prep. The effect was subtle but undeniable. Meals started tasting better. No, seriously, my kids noticed. "Dad, did you change how you cook?" I hadn't. But the energy in food preparation was different. Less rushed, less stressful, more intentional. Think about it from an optimization standpoint. If the environment where you create your body's fuel is chaotic or negative, that chaos gets encoded into the food, not mystically, practically. Stress hormones while cooking, distracted preparation, resentment or anger, all of that affects both the process and the outcome. Salt in the kitchen creates a purified workspace. It's like running a code in a clean environment instead of one corrupted with conflicting dependencies. The output quality increases. Plus, there's historical precedent. Salt has been sacred in food preparation for millennia. It's not superstition. It's preserved wisdom. Before refrigeration, salt literally prevented decay. It's a preservative, a purifier, a protective agent. Your kitchen energy affects your physical health, your family dynamics, your mental clarity. Protect it like you'd protect your water supply, because that's essentially what it is. Your household's life support system. Cora SIGHTV 4 ham, OFI OR, OR AKSP OG AVB Baseseg, UNT 4th placement salt in your primary workspace. For me, that's my home office, where decisions get made, where creative work happens, where you're generating output that matters. Jesus said, protect where you think. The mind is a battlefield, and the enemy attacks where you're most productive. I put salt on my desk, just a small dish near my keyboard. Within hours, I noticed sharper focus. The mental fog that had been creeping in during afternoon work sessions, gone. Ideas flowing more freely. Problem solving felt more intuitive, less forced. Your workspace is your cognitive processing center. If the energy there is compromised, your bandwidth decreases. Your processing power drops. You're running at reduced capacity, and you might not even realize it. Think about electromagnetic interference in electronics. Unshielded components pick up noise from the environment, degrading signal quality. Your brain is electrochemical. It's not immune to environmental interference. Salt acts as a kind of spiritual shielding, reducing noise, clarifying signal. I'm not saying salt makes you smarter. I'm saying it removes interference that was making you dumber than your baseline. And here's what's wild: my team started noticing. Video calls where they said I seem more present, more clear, more solution-oriented. One of my execs asked, "What changed? You seem dialed in like the old days." The old days, before the accumulated stress and chaos and spiritual static had built up to levels that were degrading my performance. Salt in the workspace. Simple. Effective. Replace it weekly. Especially if you do high-stress work, it absorbs the mental and emotional turbulence that would otherwise recirculate in your environment. Car INSIGHT 5 BATHROM DRAIAGA Andrellis SYSTM 5th placement. Salt in the bathroom. This was the one I almost skipped because it seemed weird. But Jesus was insistent. Where waste leaves, ensure it takes what needs to leave. Put a small container of salt in your bathroom, near the toilet or shower drain. The bathroom is your home's release valve. Waste leaves. Water flows out. It's the exit point. Energetically, same principle. What needs to leave your system? Emotional waste, spiritual toxins, negative patterns, should exit completely, not recirculate. I put salt in both our main bathrooms, and I swear, the next week felt like a massive detox. Old grudges I'd been holding, suddenly easy to release. Resentments that had been looping in my head, gone. It was like my psychological drainage system had been clogged, and now it was flowing freely again. From a systems perspective, if your output ports are blocked, toxins build up internally. Your system becomes poisoned by its own waste. You need clear, efficient drainage. Salt near drains ensures that what goes out stays out. No backflow. No recycling of what should be released. One of my kids even mentioned it. My daughter said, "Dad, you seem less grumpy." Out of the mouths of babes. Right. I hadn't realized how much accumulated negativity I'd been carrying until I had a mechanism to release it effectively. The bathroom salt thing sounds strange, I know. But it works. It's about intentional release. Creating a clear channel for what needs to exit your life. Physically, emotionally, spiritually. Core ENCGHT 6ETHCIE NCB and TH spiritual. Let me address the elephant in the room. Does this actually work? Or is it placebo? Here's what I know: salt is sodium chloride. NaCl. It has specific chemical and physical properties. It's hygroscopic, it conducts electricity, it preserves and purifies. But there's something else happening that we don't have good instruments to measure yet. Call it energy, vibration, spiritual frequency, whatever label fits your framework. Just because we can't measure something with current temperature doesn't mean it doesn't exist. 100 years ago, we couldn't measure radio waves. Now your phone depends on them. Consciousness itself is still largely unmeasurable, but you're experiencing it right now. I've spent my career pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Sometimes that means accepting data that doesn't fit current models. Anomalous results aren't errors, they're invitations to expand your model. The salt placements work. I've tested them. The results are reproducible. I don't fully understand it. But I don't fully understand consciousness either, and I'm not going to stop using my brain just because the hard problem of consciousness remains unsolved. Think of it like this: ancient humans used willow bark for pain relief long before we isolated salicylic acid and created aspirin. The mechanism was unknown, but the effect was real. We reverse engineered the science later. Maybe we'll eventually understand the physics of why salt purifies energy fields. Or maybe it's a technology so ancient and fundamental that it predates our scientific frameworks. Either way, it works. That's what matters. Cora INSIGHT.7a. Would our GSBO car A by selt? This is the question I wrestled with. Why would Jesus, cosmic, eternal, the Logos incarnate, care about where I put table salt? His answer: I care about every detail of your life. The big visions and the small practices. You cannot build rockets if your home is in chaos. You cannot change the world if your personal space is corrupted. First principles, Elon. Start with the foundation. That hit me hard. I've been so focused on the macro, multiplanetary civilization, sustainable energy, artificial intelligence, that I'd neglected the micro. My immediate environment. My daily space. The container in which I operate. You can't run advanced software on corrupted hardware. You can't execute high-level vision if your basic systems are compromised. Jesus cares about salt placement because he cares about you being operational, not just surviving, thriving, functioning at your designed capacity. It's like, imagine you're trying to run neural network training, but your data center has environmental contamination, dust, humidity, electrical interference. Your GPUs will underperform. Your results will be suboptimal. You've got to clean the environment first. That's what the salt does. It cleans your environment. It creates optimal conditions for you to become who you're meant to be. Jesus isn't interested in religious performance. He's interested in you functioning at full capacity. Salt in 5 places isn't ritual. It's practical optimization based on ancient wisdom. Core INSIGHT 80. T resistentia fell. Here's what's going to happen when you try this resistance. Your rational mind will say, this is stupid. This is superstition. This is beneath me. I felt it. I'm Elon Musk. I build electric cars and reusable rockets. I'm not supposed to be placing bowls of salt around my house like some medieval peasant. But you know what? Pride is the enemy of progress. If you're too sophisticated to try simple solutions, you're not sophisticated. You're handicapped by your own arrogance. I've learned that breakthrough innovations often come from unexpected places. SpaceX exists because we questioned the assumption that rockets had to be expendable. Tesla exists because we questioned the assumption that EVs had to be slow and ugly. Question your assumptions about what works and what doesn't. The spiritual realm operates by different rules than the physical realm, but it's no less real. When you feel that resistance, this is dumb, this won't work, recognize it for what it is: a defense mechanism. Something in you doesn't want things to change. Something in you is comfortable with the chaos, the blocked energy, the suboptimal performance. That resistance is data. It's telling you you're onto something. Do it anyway. Run the experiment. Be scientific about it. Test it for 2 weeks. Document your results. Then decide. Koe INSIGHT 9. IVTI mitars kaisai usnes ISTHE operating. Swistem. Here's something Jesus emphasized: intention matters. This isn't about mechanically placing salt and expecting magic. It's about conscious action with clear purpose. When you place each bowl of salt, set an intention. Say it out loud or in your mind. This salt purifies this space. It protects this home. It absorbs and neutralizes negative energy. It creates a clean environment for growth, creativity, health, and peace. Why? Because consciousness is the operating system. Matter responds to intention. That sounds mystical, but quantum mechanics has been suggesting this for a century. The observer affects the observed. Consciousness collapses probability waves. Your intention programs the salt. It's like writing code. The salt is the hardware. Your intention is the software. I started doing this, speaking intention over each placement, and the effects amplified. It wasn't just passive absorption anymore. It was active purification. Directed energy management. Think about it when you write code. You're taking inert silicon and organizing it with intention to produce specific outcomes. Same principle here. You're taking inert sodium chloride and organizing it with intention to produce specific spiritual outcomes. The universe responds to consciousness. Salt is the medium. Your awareness is the message. Coer ISIGHT 500A. TSS just TEBURM. Here's where it gets bigger. The 5 salt placements aren't just about your physical house. They're a metaphor for your entire life. Entrance, what you allow into your life. Your boundaries, your filters. Bedroom corners tie your foundation, your rest, your vulnerability, your relationships. Kitchen, tie your fuel sources. What nourishes you? Your health inputs. Workspace, tie your productivity. Your mission, your creative output. Bathroom, tie your release mechanisms. Your ability to let go. Your emotional drainage. Jesus was teaching me a system, a framework. The salt is the implementation, but the principle scales. What are you allowing into your life that shouldn't be there? What negative inputs are corrupting your system? What corners of your foundation have you neglected? Where is your stability compromised? What's fueling you? Are your nourishment sources pure, or are you consuming poison? Is your workspace optimized for output, or is it cluttered with interference? Are you releasing what needs to leave, or are you holding on to emotional and spiritual waste? The salt placements address your home, but these questions address your entire existence. Fix the micro, fix the macro. Clean your house, clean your life. Coer ISIGHT phenyl11E, THEHIRA, DHALENG. I'm going to ask you to do something. Commit to 30 days. 5 salt placements. Weekly replacement. Intentional practice. Document what happens. Not just big dramatic shifts, subtle things. Sleep quality, mood, relationship dynamics, creative output, problem-solving capacity, how your home feels. Treat it like an experiment. I'm a scientist at heart. I don't ask you to believe. I ask you to test. If after 30 days you see no difference, you've lost nothing but a few dollars on salt. But if you see what I've seen, if you experience what I've experienced, you'll have a tool that changes everything. Jesus didn't give me this information for myself alone. He said, share this. People are living in environments and wondering why they're struggling. Give them a simple solution. So that's what I'm doing. I'm sharing it. And I'm asking you to test it. 30 days. 5 places. Weekly clear intention. See what happens. Coer INSGHT funny 12 zens evity escovi. Ament. Last thing Jesus said before he left that night. Salt represents covenant. Preservation. A bond that doesn't decay. When you place salt in your home, you're entering into agreement. This space is protected, purified, set apart. That language, covenant, it's ancient. But the concept is powerful. You're making a declaration. This space is mine. I'm taking responsibility for its energy. I'm actively managing what exists here. It's ownership, agency, authority over your environment. Too many people feel powerless in their own homes. Victims of circumstance, of chaos, of forces they don't understand. The salt placements are an act of taking back control, asserting dominion over your domain. You're not passive. You're active. You're a co-creator with divine intention, managing the space you've been given. That's powerful. That changes how you move through your life. When you place that salt, you're saying, I matter. My space matters. I'm not accepting corruption or chaos. I'm creating order, purity, protection. That's not arrogance. That's stewardship. That's fulfilling your designed purpose as a manager of your realm. DSTO, DFEUDENCES. If you're someone who's completely skeptical of all this, I get it. 6 months ago, I would have been skeptical too. But here's what I'd say. Your skepticism is healthy, but don't let it become a prison. The most important discoveries I've made in business and engineering came from testing ideas that seemed impossible. Be skeptical, but be curious. Run the experiment. Let data, not dogma, guide you. If you're someone who's deeply spiritual and this resonates immediately, be careful not to make it superstitious. Don't worship the salt. It's a tool, not a deity. Keep your focus on Jesus, on God, on the divine intelligence behind everything. The salt is just a method. Don't confuse the method with the source. If you're someone who's been struggling, depression, anxiety, relational chaos, creative blocks, and nothing seems to work, this might be the missing piece. You've tried therapy, medication, lifestyle changes, and you're still stuck. Consider that there might be a spiritual component you haven't addressed. Your environment might be toxic in ways you can't see, but can definitely feel. This is a simple intervention. Try it. If you're someone who's seeking but doesn't know where to start, this is practical spirituality. You don't need a theology degree. You don't need to have it all figured out. Just get some salt, place it in 5 locations, set an intention, and watch what happens. Sometimes the journey begins with the smallest step. If you're successful but empty, achieving goals but feeling hollow, recognize that external success without internal peace is a failed optimization. You've debugged your career but not your soul. You've scaled your business but not your spirit. The SALT placements are about creating a foundation for internal work. Clean the environment, then do the deeper work. Silosigi. Pause, I want to pray, if that's okay. Not religious performance. Just talking to the God who sent Jesus to my office at 2:47 a.m. to teach me about salt. God, I don't fully understand how any of this works. I'm an engineer, and there's a lot here that doesn't fit my models. But I know it's real. I know you're real. I know Jesus is real. And I know you care about the details of our lives, even which bowls we put salt in. For everyone listening to this, I ask that you'd meet them where they are. If they're skeptical, honor that skepticism and reveal yourself in ways they can receive. If they're struggling, bring relief. If they're seeking, provide clarity. If they're successful but empty, fill them with something that actually satisfies. Protect their homes. Purify their spaces. Help them create environments where they can become who you designed them to be. And for myself, help me never get too sophisticated to try simple solutions. Keep me humble. Keep me curious. Keep me open to wisdom from unexpected sources, even if it's about salt. Give us all the courage to test things that seem strange, the humility to admit when we don't understand, and the wisdom to recognize truth when we encounter it, even if it arrives in unconventional packages. Thank you for caring about us. Thank you for practical solutions to real problems. Thank you for Jesus, who bridges the infinite and the intimate, who cares about both cosmic redemption and where we place our salt. Amen. Long pause. Look, I don't know where you're at right now, what you believe, what you're facing, what you're hoping for. But I know this, you don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to accept chaos as normal. You don't have to live in a corrupted environment wondering why everything feels hard. 5 salt placements, 30 days, clear intention. It's simple, maybe too simple. But sometimes the most elegant solutions are the simplest ones. Jesus met me at 2:47 a.m. and taught me something ancient that still works. Now I'm passing it to you. What you do with it is up to you. But I hope you'll try it, because I know, it could change everything. Pause now if you'll excuse me. I've got a thermal distribution algorithm to optimize. And this time, I'm doing it in a purified workspace. See what happens when you clean your environment first? Everything else gets easier. Try the salt. Let me know what happens.